Welcome to the Pink Couch. I am Coach Lele. Tonight's episode, Desires versus Desperation.
If you need clarity, have a conversation. Protect your sanity. Have a conversation. Come to the Pink Couch and talk it out with Coach Lele. With Coach Lele. With Coach Lele. Yeah. A simple conversation brings much clarity.
Welcome to season 3 of the Pink Couch. Did y'all guys miss me? I definitely missed y'all. We are still dealing with hard conversations, topics that seem to be taboo, but tonight we're going to talk about desperation versus desires. So everybody's probably over the new year resolution type phase. Some of you have already failed your resolutions. You only lasted a day, maybe a week, and maybe you're still going strong. But tonight I want to talk about desires versus desperation because I'm finding that a lot of people get the two mixed up. So we're going to break down the words. We're going to have some candid conversation about desires and desperation. So the word desire is defined according to Webster's dictionary as to long or hope for, exhibit or feel desire for. It also means to want to have sex with someone. It means to express a wish for, a request. It means to express a wish, like to ask. It also means a conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction in its attainment. Let me read that one again. A conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction in its attainment, a longing, a craving, usually a formal request or petition for some action. That's what desire means. So, a lot of people in relationships, I call them situationships, because the only thing that bonds you together is a situation. And a lot of people don't want to be honest about that. They really want to say, I'm compatible with this person. I love this person. I want to be with them. But the truth of the matter is, when you outgrow the situation, you connected under low self-esteem. You connected because you was homeless. You need a place to stay. That's what I call the hobosexual. And it can be male or female. Then you have a situation where, you needed some help and somebody rescued you. You have one person is always the victim and the other one is always what they call the save-a-hoe person. So, but is it really desire or is it desperation? And so a lot of people, they find themselves in situationships as opposed to relationships. When you're dealing with somebody when you have a relationship, you can relate to one another. You complement one another. And that could be in friendship or a partnership, marriage, or whatever. But a lot of us don't know the difference. We're going to break those things down because as I've been away, I've been dealing with a lot of people and they find themselves in situationships. They were not in relationships. They were not in marriages. They were not in friendships. They weren't even business partnerships. It was a situation that connected them. And so it's true that opposites attract. So if you are a wealthy person, you're going to attract broke people. If you are a kind-hearted person, you're going to attract a selfish person. If you are one that loves to help, you're going to attract somebody that likes to hinder. It is just the truth. And a lot of times we forget that. We only think about opposites attract as it comes to male and female. But the truth of the matter is your personality, your character, you're going to attract the opposite of who you are. And that's why so many people are frustrated. Some people are ready to go to divorce court. Some people are falling out as friends. People don't even consider themselves family anymore because we don't realize that opposites attract. So most kind-hearted people are frustrated by now. Let me talk about me. Because I was very frustrated because I'm like, Lord, I'm good to a lot of people. I help a lot of people. But I kept attracting people who were not kind, who were not being a help. They always were takers. So if I'm a giver, I'm going to attract a taker. And a lot of us do not factor that in. In our mind, we think I should attract what's like me, but that is just not the case. You're always going to attract the opposite. Now, the hard question is, can you handle what you attract? And if you can't handle what you attract, now you got to decipher, is this a desire or is this a desperation? Because a lot of us hate to be wrong, especially in relationships. We don't want to be wrong. We done book this person up. They the best thing since sliced bread. And they just my honey on my butter. They my cream and my coffee. They my ice and my cream. And you find out, they're not. And so because we all did all this public, what they call PDA. Now we got the social media age, because some people don't think you love them unless you post them on social media. That's another conversation we'll talk about for another day. But you know, that's the season that we're in, the timing that we're in. So you've done all this advertisement, you've done all this accolades and all this stuff, but on the reality, that's not what you thought you got. And a lot of people don't understand that who you meet on the date is not who you're gonna end up with. You're meeting a representation, because everybody wants to put their best foot forward. They took a good shower, they got on good cologne, they brushed their teeth and everything on the first date. By third date, you notice halitosis. You notice that they got Febreze mixed with cologne. That means their clothes had chicken grease in it, and they Febreze before they got with you. So I was going to live with the smell and go out on a date. You got to understand that. That's why you got to have the 120-day rule. What's 120-day rule, Alicia? Coach Lele? It is when when they real them comes out. Anybody can pretend for a length of time, but by day 121, you're going to see exactly what you're dealing with. And so a lot of things we think we desire, we don't. And then another thing too, we have to factor in our mental capacity when we meet people. You know, if you just broke up with somebody, you look for somebody to just kill time with, well, you end up in a relationship with them. You're supposed to be just a fun date. Now you in another committed situationship because you wanted somebody to fill that void because of what you desire. Okay. Now, one of the definitions that stood out to me about desire was this one. It was conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction in its attainment. Which means, okay, I really believe that once I get this, I'm going to be satisfied. I'm going to enjoy it. That's desire. So you went after it, and now you're not enjoying it. Now it's an irritant. Now you're second guessing yourself. But you desire companionship. You desire somebody to work with you, a go-getter. You desired somebody that was beautiful, handsome, somebody that was clean, well-groomed. You desired somebody with ambition. This is what you desire. You thought, this is what they presented to me. This is what I want. So I went after. I was impulsively going after it, thinking that once I got it, I was going to be satisfied and enjoy it. But now you're not. So what happens next? Now what happens is we slip into desperation now, because we done told all our friends, we done told all our people that this is the one, this is great, this is wonderful. And now what we advertise is not what we actually got. It's like watching late night TV. They do all these wonderful commercials at 2 o'clock in the morning when you really ain't thinking about it. You get your phone, start scrolling, start buying stuff. Then when it comes to your house, it ain't what you ordered. So this is why we really got to decipher. Am I actually getting what I desire, or am I slipping into desperation? I know there was a lot, but let's keep digging. So now that we talked about desire, let's talk about desperation. Now we know desperation can come from 3 different words. So desperation is defined according to Webster's Dictionary as the loss of hope and surrender to despair. The state of hopelessness leading to rashness. That's desperation. So it says surrender to despair. So what is despair? Despair is the utter loss of hope. It's great unhappiness or disappointment. It means a cause of hopelessness. It means to lose all hope or confidence. That's what despair is. So which we get to desperate. All right. So desperate is defined as having lost hope, given no ground for hope, moved by despair or utter loss of hope. It means involving or employing extreme measures in an attempt to escape defeat or frustration, suffering extreme need or anxiety, shocking, outrageous. That's desperate. Now you think about, I said desire versus desperation. So you had a desire to actually to enjoy something and help it and obtain it, but now you don't enjoy it. So now you're in desperation because, okay, I'm in a situation, I don't know how to get out of it. And most people look at the word desperate as low self-esteem, just putting up with just anything. But that's really not what that is. I just defined that for you tonight. So, desire versus desperation. They are similar, but they are the opposite. Remember, opposites attract, okay? So, you had a desire to be in a relationship. You had a desire to be monogamous. You had a desire to be in a great friendship. You had a desire to be in a great business partnership. But what did you attract? Did you attract somebody that, as I said, as Webster said, it says involving or employing extreme measures in an attempt to escape defeat or frustration, giving no ground for hope. You got all the hope in the world this is going to work, but you attract somebody who has no hope. How does that work? This is why we are so dysfunctional, because we're disconnected. You got to ask yourself, where did the disconnect come from? A lot of people do not pay attention to what people say. They don't pay attention to their patterns, and they don't pay attention to their inconsistencies, because we are so in love with the idea of being in love that we don't realize the person that we are entreating don't even like us. They like what we can do for them. They like how we make them feel for a second or a minute. But once that's over, and once that fix has been fixed, get away from me. Leave me alone. What? So you didn't pay attention to. They told you on the first date they like to travel and they are going to school and they're doing this. You're 3 months in. They haven't missed one day because they're not been in class. You're trying to book a trip for y'all to go somewhere. They want to be a homebody. You see what I'm saying? They look at social media and they look at how to attract people, how to get people's attention. And so they repeat what other people say, but that's not who they are. And so a lot of times, that's why I said the 120-day rule is phenomenal. A man of great wisdom told me about the 120-day rule, and it worked. It's the truth. 120 days, you're going to find out exactly what you get, because after that, the pretending stops. People can't pretend longer than that. They just really cannot. You're going to see back and forward, hot, cold. It's not going to be always hot. It's going to be hot, cold, lukewarm. You're going to see changes, things of that nature. That's why people can tell when somebody's cheating on them, because they're all of a sudden you wearing cologne, all of a sudden you wearing perfume, all of a sudden you laying your clothes out, you wearing your good underwear, to work. You doing all this extra stuff. You dressing up when you go out. When you're out with your significant other, you look like you just got invaded. You don't do your hair, you don't do anything. That's one thing that really burns me up about people, is that when you go out with your friends, you are dressed to the nines. When you go out with your spouse, you look like death warmed over. I don't understand that. Because why would you not want to give that same energy to the person you said you desired? But a lot of people are in love with ideas, but they don't have the character to follow, to actually implement the concept. So, desperation again, it was of the loss of hope or surrender to despair. So what happens to us, whether we want to believe it or not, we go from desire to despair, to desperation, because we end up compromising. We've lost our hope because, first of all, the reason why we compromise, because we lose hope in what we want. Now, I know it's hard to swallow, but it's just the truth. You have a standard, and this is what you really, really want. But when you lose hope in your standard, you end up in desperation. You end up losing hope in what you said you wanted. And now you're in a situation where you're frustrated, you're fruitless, and you're not going anywhere. So ask yourself a hard question. Am I true to my desires? Because a lot of us are not. We say this is what we want, and we're going to stick to it, but because we're afraid to be alone, we are afraid to be wrong, we would rather settle. And settling puts us in a place of despair. There's no hope for me. Because what you're saying is, there's no reason for me to go and find what I want. There's no hope for me. That's what you're saying. There's no hope for me. I'm able to sit over here, tolerate this, and be done with it. Instead of having candid conversations, instead of being honest about how you feel, a lot of us have to make a decision. Let me tell you something. I'm going to talk about it about 2 seconds, maybe 5. Last year in October, I was led to contact people who I had been counseling, mentoring, all that type of stuff, right? And I was told, my instructions were to have a conversation with them to see if they wanted to actually choose me to be their mentor, their leader, or their coach. All 33, it was 33 people. After I finished writing all the names, it was 33 people. All 33 people said, I'm going to find somebody else. After years of right up and down the road, touring, teaching, training, giving, helping, pushing, supporting, years, right? When I asked them to make a decision, they did not choose me. Now, I had to realize that my desire to help people is true to who I am. But to keep me from slipping into despair, losing confidence, losing hope in what I'm supposed to be doing, I had to draw a line in the sand. Now, I could have been upset about it, but it was eye-opening for me because I realized I attracted people that was non-committed. I'm a committed person, so I attract people who lack commitment. So I had to understand that you can control what you choose. You can't control. You can't control what you attract, but you can control what you accept. Write that down. You cannot control what you attract, but you can control what you accept. And so this is the year that you decide to hold on to your desires. Do not get in the place that you think there is no hope for who you authentically are in life. So with desire versus desperation, one of the definitions for despair was the state of moving into hopelessness that leads to rashness. And so rashness also leads to being harsh as well. And so when you think of harsh, one of the definitions that stood out to me was physically discomforting. Physically discomforting. When your climate of your mindset, the climate of your heart is in despair because you not getting what you desire. Your body begins to react to it. It also, one of the definitions for that was also causing a disagreeable or painful sensory reaction, irritating. Now you're irritated about everything aggravates you because you're going to slip into despair. And so we really have to protect our desires. What do you really desire? And a lot of times, some people, they don't have desires. So what they do is they accept the desires of others. That's how we end up being what everybody else wants us to be, as opposed to what we really want to be. When you don't have any hope in yourself, when you've lost your confidence in yourself, you will adopt other people's desires for you, as opposed to what is in you. And so what happens is you start doing what everybody expects you to do, but at some point, pleasing people does not fulfill you. It depletes you because everybody else will be excited and be fine with what you've given them, but there's no reciprocation, there's no reciprocity. So now you're left empty. And a lot of you are empty tonight because you have been living on fantasy island. You have become what everybody else expected, to the point you've lost your own expectation. You have a right to expect certain things because of who you are. You have a right to expect respect. You have a right to expect love. You have a right to respect. But we have to inspect what we expect. Because a lot of us have lost our expectation because we feel like, well, I'm going to get what I need anyway, so I'm going to just become this over here. But you're still not happy. You're still not fulfilled. And so that's why we got people being married 20, 30, 40 years getting divorced. Because they're just tired of pretending. They have gotten their feel of doing what everybody wants them to do. One of the holidays that grieves my spirit the most is Father's Day. And the reason why is because it's not publicized like Mother's Day. Everything goes on sale in June for Father's Day. There are no nice packages that's overpriced for men during that time frame. And it bothers me because that is the first thing that God ever touched. Everything else He's spoken to existence. When it came to His hands, He put His hands in the ground and made man. Man is extremely precious to our society. There would be no society without him. Period, point blank. Because you got to have seed in order to reproduce. And so we mishandle our seed carriers because society says they're not important. In poor communities where they're on a public assistance, they tell you that the seed carrier can't be in the home with you. Otherwise, we won't help you. We won't assist you. So women exclude the fathers of these children to get assistance from the government. It's crazy. But the desire is gone. So because we have not been taught how to honor the men, how to respect them, how to hold them in high regard, this is why we got so much desperate activity happening out here. We got broken families, we got broken relationships, broken friendships. We got people in business that can't even function properly. Men throw themselves into work and into their business because they feel fulfilled, because people need them. Men need to be needed. I don't know why this shifted this way, but I'm going to flow with it. Men need to be needed. I don't care what y'all say. They're not emotional. They are not. They are not emotional people. However, they need to be needed. They have to fix something. They have to produce something. And so when you take that from them, now the whole dynamic has changed. And so the world has really affected how things are supposed to go. That's why we have chaos. When there's no order, there's always going to be chaos. And so the desire of God was that we will be able to coexist, work together, be fruitful, and multiply. Subdue the earth and have dominion. That was His desire. But we have become desperate and we're running from that. We want to do things our way. We're not allowing the innate nature in us to lead and guide us. A lot of people say you should have a restaurant. I don't have the patience for that. I can cater. That's simple. But running a restaurant is something totally different. You have to know what's in you, what you can handle, what you can handle. But a lot of you are doing stuff that everybody else said you should do, and now you're trying to figure, how do I get out of this? Because I don't like a failure, which is pride. I don't want nobody to think I can't handle this. Pride. And it always comes before destruction. I'd rather have peace than walk in pride. And peace is priceless, and we give it away all the time because we are so enamored with the approval of people. And you've been doing this for 20 years already. It still hasn't worked. So are you going to get back to yourself and figure out what is my desire? What is desire again? Let's look at it again. Desire is defined a conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction in its attainment. I enjoy doing this. Okay? I am satisfied with my podcast. It's satisfying to me. I don't never leave here depleted. I don't never leave here depressed. I believe on 1,000 because it's a conscious impulse. This is what I crave this. I long to do this. It means to express a wish for a request. Okay, so I was having a conversation with my producer, and he asked, "Have you ever thought about doing a podcast?" And see, I've already done this clock shake up, so it wasn't hard to transition to it, but it was more structured and more at another level. But I desired to get back to this clock shake up, but I didn't know how I was going to get back there. But this aligns with my desire. So when are you going to admit that you compromise on your desire? You're in desperate mode. You're in despair. You're not enjoying. You're not fulfilling anything. You have compromised yourself, and it's so crazy because we get mad at everybody else not being loyal to us when we fail to be loyal to ourselves. And this is the year to be loyal to you. I'm not implementing selfishness. No. But I am implementing self-care in another direction. Because we can spend our money and go get our nails or go get a haircut. But let's go back to our desires, because Scripture says that hope deferred makes the heart sick. And hope is where you get your desire from. It's what you trust and you rely on what's in you. So when you lose that trust and you lose that confidence, you're now in despair. You're not happy. You're not fulfilled. And you say, you know what? Instead of me pursuing what I really want, I'll settle for what I thought I wanted. And at some point, you got to renew your mind and say, you know what? It's not working for me. Because people are going to keep asking you to keep sacrificing for their happiness. But when are you going to be happy? When are you going to inspect what you expect? And some of you are in a situation where you've outgrown people because you initially connected under low self-esteem, and now you've matured and you know who you are, and you're willing to tap into that desire of your worth and your ability. This is like to you. And you're feeling bad because you made a commitment to this. But in committing, you have to agree to grow together. And a lot of us don't do that. A lot of people prepare for the end result and don't brace themselves for the process to it. Did you hear what I said? A lot of us look at the end result, but we do not embrace the impact of the process. And so we're so busy, getting t-shirts and getting paraphernalia. But guess what? You got all this product, but no process. So now people are like, oh, you got this product, what you going to do with it? Because all you're doing is selling it. But we don't have any content from you. We don't have any context of what you're trying to do because you did not embrace the impact of the process. Because now I bought all this stuff, I want nobody to buy it. Well, why are we inspired to buy it? But you haven't told us your vision. You haven't told us where you're going. You haven't given us anything to want what you have put out here. And so a lot of times we love the end of a thing. We don't like to go through. But that's the most important part. That's the most important part. You know how 6 O'Clock Shake Up got started? Bishop Randall K. Thomas. Before 6 O'Clock Shake Up, I was going live 2 or 3 times a day. Something hit me, bam, I was going live. Or I was, actually, before it was live, I would record it and upload it. So I was uploading 2 or 3 videos a day. And so he asked me, so you ever thought about going live 1 time a day, every day, this the same time, just once a day? And at first I got offended. I'm like, because I'm thinking my content is great. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. I was offended at first. But I thought about it. I said, you know what? Let me try it. So that's when I came with the 6 O'Clock Shake Up. And it blew up. But the process to podcast was being in a structured environment, same time, same length of time, and 1 time a week. It was bigger than me just going live. But the process to the pink couch came from uploading 3 videos a day, maybe 4 videos a day. When you finally could go live, going live 2 or 3 times a day, doing it once a day at the same time. And guess what? It built an audience. People was tuning in every day at 6 o'clock. Every day at 6 o'clock. It was people on there every day. But we look at the end of a thing. We don't realize the process to it. Even being on television, it helped me for television when I was doing my TV show in California. That once a day gave me structure to be able to adapt to expansion. And a lot of us cannot we love to start stuff, but we can't build it, maintain it, and expand it because we abort process. But your desire will help you with process. It will. But when you get desperate, you start settling, you say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done, blah, 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 blah. You get stuck. And then you're not fruitful. And then it's always something going on around you and you're not being fulfilled. So desire versus desperation. It's a real thing. And we really got to take a look at it. And this is the year where you go after what you desire. And desire is not external stuff. It really comes from within. Desire is, like I said, a conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction in its attainment. So you saying you're called to this and you're purposed for that, or you're destined for this, but are you doing it? And are you doing it because it's really a desire, or are you doing it because you're trying to prove a point to somebody else? Let me tell you something about proving points to people. It's going to get old. Because as you spin your tires in the mud trying to prove your point, they still don't care. They're not going to change their mind, not going to change their concept. So it is better for us to get grounded, get back to our true, authentic self. My hashtag is authenticity yields affluence. And we're not affluent, we're not authentic. You can't be blessed by who you pretend to be. You can only be blessed by who you are. So tonight we talked about something very tough. Desperation versus desire. This is the year when you go after everything you desire. This has been The Pink Couch. I'm Coach Lele. Good night.
If you need